Hello there and welcome to my channel. This is Non-Gone, and today, for the last time in this series finally, we are playing Death Stranding. This is video 13 in this playlist. The first 12 were all about doing a speed platinum run, the overview and the detailed walkthrough to try to get the trophies as quickly as possible. This one we're going to call bonus content. This one is about where to put your zip lines, and I'll try to be as quick as possible. I tend to over explain things, so sorry if you got to wait and listen to me a bunch, but I'll do my best here. This one's outside of the realm. I've just been asked this a few times, and I looked for this when I was trying to route my run and had to kind of figure it out myself, and I figured this might be helpful if you're just trying to find a decent way to get around the map. So I'll try to do it as quick as possible. Everything's already built, so it's just me running around on zip lines, but at least I'll show you where they are. So first off, a couple of quick things here. Number one, to place a zip line, you need to be at chapter 5, I think, in the story. There's a little cutscene with Mama where you come out of her lab and there's a zip line anchor there. And she says, oh, I know how to build zip lines now. Then you can. You need a level 2 PCC. You need to place them within 300 meters of each other. And that's pretty much it. They take 500 chiral bandwidth, so you got to have that available on your network. We are going to be placing the eastern region first. This is a good tutorial area. You can see they're already up. There are 7 locations here. I'm not doing the incinerator because I don't have the bandwidth, frankly, to get out there. And there's no reason to go there other than maybe like 3 times, I think. And 2 of them, you can't take zip lines anyway. So they're story related. So that being said, you cannot talk about setting up zip lines without talking about chiral bandwidth management. As you can see, I have 9,500. I've used 9,500 out of 10,720. This region is actually, at least the way I've done it, does not give you enough bandwidth to build a zip line to all the locations. I'm able to do it in 23 stops, which I think is 11,500. Does that sound right? And as you can see, all facilities are at 5 stars, and we only got 10.7. So we're actually like at least 2 short, and that's at the most efficient that I found. So before we do this, we cannot talk about building zip lines without talking about what to do to not run out of bandwidth. So I have 4 tips for you. Number 1 is do not place any other structures on the map if you want to use a lot of zip lines. If you do, like a generator, say you need a generator to recharge your trike battery, dismantle it as soon as your battery is charged. So whatever use you have for it, dismantle that structure, keep your bandwidth low, and you should be fine. Keep in mind that 10.7 is not given to you from the beginning of the game either. You're mostly building these structures so that you can get likes from all the centers, all the people, and that is what will build you up to 10.7. So you won't have the maximum amount to work with. So you kind of got to build as you go. The second thing, and most important thing, is use your help from your online friends whenever you can, especially if they placed a zip line on your map that is in an advantageous place. Definitely use it. In this case, I have 23 up and I'm only using 9,500 bandwidth. That means 4 of them are from my friends, and I couldn't have done this without them. So thank you for that. Use it. It'll change your route a little bit different every time, but try to keep it as close as you can. So just a bit of advice on that. The last 2 things deal with what do you do to not have to put zip lines in certain places if you don't have the bandwidth. And I call them the drive up and the walk off, or the walk back. So a drive up is basically, there's a little version of this right here. We're at Capital Knot City. We could have placed this anchor right there at the wall, but instead we chose to put it out about 30 or 40 paces. And I just drive a trike up to there and get on it from there. It doesn't look like much in this one because it isn't, but down at Port Knot, I had to do that for like the entire hill. I needed I need enough bandwidth for like 3 anchors, and I didn't have it. So you just drive your trike up to the zip, hop on the zip, and then take off from there, and it'll be sitting there when you get back with another delivery. You can drive it back. So that's the drive up. The walk back I did with the musician and a few in the central area is build it out, get them to 5 stars, and then dismantle that arm that goes out there. That will get you all of your bandwidth back. Again, PCCs don't take very much resources to create. So even like if you place one in a weird spot and want to move it, just do it. It's like 40 metal and 30 chiral crystals or something. So anyway, drive up, walk back. A good way to manage your bandwidth. Anyway, let's talk about the 23 locations for your zipline anchors in the eastern region. So let's get started. The first one is outside of Capital Knot here. Again, go about 30 paces out so that you can get to this river in the second hop. And number 2 is going to be right about here on this side of the river. Number 3 is up on that ridge. And try to get it as far up as you can. As you see, this ridge has a thickness to it that we're going over right now. Put it all the way on the far back end so you can see down into this valley. And place number 4 as far south as you can in between the 2 rivers. Number 5 is going to be right there at the Waystation. I'm not going to go up there. It's right there at the Waystation. And then building off of your 4th one, we're going to put number 6 as far south as we can. And I like to put this up on this little spine by the mule camp. You'll have to find a couple of mules to get it up here, but it's worth it. There's some fetch quests that go in there, and you can just run right over. So 7's going to be down here by the river, far south again. And then from here, you should be able to get to the Ludens fan pretty easy. There's a little peak, or a little cliff, right by his door. So there you go, by the Ludens fan, number 8. Number 9 is back down the hill. You see this is an online one. It's only 150 meters away. I needed the extra bandwidth, so I used it. But remember that when we talk about number 10. So number 10 is 300 meters south as well. And remember what I just said about that extra 100 meters. That would put us real close to the distro center there. But we're just a little bit short. So I used a drive up. You see my trikes right there. So anyway, that's 10. And we have 4 of the locations. 11 then would be across the river and south of the distro. So right about here is acceptable. You want to be looking up this little crevasse that goes to the wind farm. So let's put 12 up the hill there. And 13 right at the top of the saddle here. And you can get to the wind farm from here in 2 hops. You can actually go through these trees as long as you don't bang into a trunk anywhere. So just go ahead and put one like somewhere down the hill where you can reach it. And then the other one will be through the trees. You see that was almost 290. Yeah, just go down there and plop one down wherever it connects the blue line up. And you got 15 stops and you're at the wind farm. So good job. All right, so we're back to stop number 11 here. That's the distro center in the middle of the map here. You're going to want to go about 300 paces south for number 16. And from here, you should have an angle up this mountain crack going to Port Knot and also in here going to the Musician. So number 17 will be right at the Musician's back door. There you go. That's the Musician. By the way, somebody put this here, and I don't know if that's smart or not. Maybe this is a shortcut to Port Knot instead of going around the way I'm going. Just keep that in mind. Yeah, we're going to go back to 16 now and go to Port Knot from there. And basically our goal with Port Knot is to get to the top of the arch above the little hole in the route in 3 hops. So you'll see some of these are short, but the peaks are kind of close together and higher each time. So, yep, so we're going to go 1 up here, and that's 18. And then 19 would be up on the top of this rock up here. You see it? And then 20 will be on the top of the arch. And if you want to know how to get up there, just walk up the right. You can climb the rock from the right side over there. So that's 20 on top of the arch. 21's right on this little cliff face here. So you're looking down over the hill. And from there, 22 is 300 meters down the hill. And then 23 is right at the Port Knot front door. So good job. 23 hops. You got all 7 locations here. You can make your deliveries at will at that point and finish it up. And I'll see you in the central region. Okay, so we're in the central area and we're coming out at South Knot. Now, I know a intelligent way to do this would be to start at Lake Knot, but that's not how I built it out in my playthrough, and it's not how I suggest you build it out either. The biggest reason for this, of course, is that you first get the ability to put zipline anchors down, and you get it when you're at South Knot. So your first place that you're going to have a chance to put a zipline is going to be right down here, and I suggest you go ahead and build it out from here to begin with. And so not only are we talking about locations, but we're talking about orders. So if this is confusing you a bit and you want to start from Lake Knot, then just skip ahead. I'll put a chapter spot in there, and you could go that way. But my first one was at South Knot, and that's what I'm gonna continue to do. So again, we drive out from here because it takes a while to run. But yep, your first location would just be right outside the fence at South Knot City. Now, this will be an online one that Mama built right here, and it's here every time it's part of the game. And the second one is also built by Mama. So that's there every time as well. And it's right outside of her lab, so that makes sense. The third one is also built by Mama. It's up here on the ridge. And then the rest of these we got to build on our own. So you want to go right along the mountain ridge here and put one about 200 paces down. I know it's not 300, but trust me, there's a reason for it. And the reason is right down there is the Cosplayer. And you can put one right on this rock right here. And I suggest you do it because you see the Cosplayers to the right there. So you can just jump on that and run down there and get the Cosplayer. We'll talk about the Timefall farm later, but this is a decent starting point for that line. So there you go. And then just go on out and put one kind of out on this peak. Again, it's not 300 because 300 would be too low. So it's better to have the peak and lose a little bit of distance. So we're headed north towards the distro center. And from there, we're going to put one across the chasm here up on the rocks. And from here, we're going to go north again. And this one, you see the chasms there and you see the climbing anchor. This is right by the collector. So from the collector, you want to put one going directly east towards the river or west towards the river. And this is sort of a pivotal, important one as well, which we'll talk about later. You can barely see the weather station up there, and that is where we're going to go eventually, but not in the first part of the game. So you just want to make sure you do this because it'll save you a couple of stops on your zip line. So again, just be out here by the river where the road runs, be able to see the weather station going up there because we'll build up there eventually, and then put one right in front of the first DC right here. So now you've got 4 of your 29 locations that you need to 5-star that are all on this little line right here. And that's South Knot City, the Cosplayer, the Collector, and this distro center. Now from here, there's a little ridge that runs crosswise at just about 300 paces to the north. So we're headed up to the Craftsman right now. And from here, just head directly north and go 300 paces again. And we're going to get our bearings just a little bit. As you see, I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's like 7 and 8 up there by the Elder. There's like 8 different zipline things that are within this range. And a lot of them were not in my control. They popped up from the online people after I already showed up. So anyway, this is the pivotal spot here. You can see on the horizon, you can see the Craftsman over there. And so we're going to head that way. You can also see the Elder is up on that mountain. Don't use this one. I don't know why that was put there. But we're going to head over that way, and you get the Engineer and ultimately Lake Knot from there. And then from the Craftsman, you can go out to the Waystation. So let's go back to Lake Knot first. So just kind of put one along the edge here, wherever it'll let you. And from here, you see that 235 up there. That's a good access point for the Elder. You can see the little lines in the sky. That's where he's at. So just put it up there on the tip of the hill there a little bit. And if you keep going mostly north, again, you can make a waypoint of the Engineer that'll kind of tell you where to go. And we're just going to keep heading basically north. Just sort of put them, it's all flat. You can put a straight line to the Engineer from here. And from the Engineer, you can just head straight north to Lake Knot City and just put one right at the doorstep. I think it's like 4 jumps or something. And as you can see, my place at Lake Knot City was an online one, and it was about 50 more paces further than I wanted, but I figured I'd save the bandwidth, so I just did drive-ups there. But you could put one right at the beginning if there's not an online one there for you. So that's pretty much how to get from South Knot to Lake Knot, and add the Collector, Cosplayer, Engineer, Elder, and Distro Center. So what is that, like 7 of the 29? We're going to head back to that little spot that peels off to the Craftsman, and I'll meet you there. Okay, so we're back at our branch here. You see that's the online one I told you not to use, and this is the ones that are headed out to the Craftsman. And you see, for some reason now, 312 meters, I can use that. Don't know why. It has something to do with the online things, where they'll give you up to like 350 or something, but we don't need it. We're not going to use it. So just head over this way and build one out towards the Craftsman. This is a good spot on the south bank of this river. And from here you can get right to the Craftsman's door right by this big rock. Try to keep it as far left as you can on this side of the rock, because we have limited space. The other way station's up that way. So anyway, the Craftsman is here. And there is one location, and this is the first one that we're not going to send zip lines out to. It's Peter Englert. You can either come out from Lake Knot or you can come up from the Craftsman. I honestly just run at this point. There's only 5 deliveries that go to Peter in the entire game, and they're like scripted kind of story-ish type deliveries. And one of them you can't use zip lines for anyway. You have to hand carry the cargo, so you're going to be running that. So I decided, rather than run out there twice to build zip lines, I'd rather just run there 4 times with the 4 pizza deliveries. So that's the first one that we're just going to ignore. If you did, though, you could build, if you wanted to, it's flat. You could figure out how to do it. But we're going to head left and go towards the Waystation from the Craftsman. So get up on this ridge as close to 300 meters as you can, and then go 300 more meters this way. Now, if you're doing this as you're playing the game, as you're playing this part of the story, this will kind of block you about right here. This area where I'm sliding right now, because this is part of the Waystation's bandwidth, so that's fine. You can put one back there a little bit as well. You see, we're only 117 meters on this jump, so you could definitely be less efficient and still be able to do it in 4 hops. So one over here is fine, and then the last one for the Waystation you want to put right up here, and this is a pretty critical spot. You want to be close enough to the cliff that you're overlooking all this valley below, but far enough that when you get off, you don't fall off the cliff. So I've definitely done that before. Okay, so we're at the distribution center north of Mountain Knot City, and I'm going to talk about the second place where I advise you do not put zip lines. So we're going to be going up into the mountains here. So Mountain Knot City, and then there's like 9 other locations, and we're going to connect them all up, which I'll do in a minute. But there's 3 little locations out here, which is the DC, the Novelist, Sun, and the Photographer. And to get a zip line built from the Waystation out here takes 8 stops. It's about another 3 to get to the Novelist Sun, about another 3 to get to the Photographer, maybe 4, and then another 5 or 6 to get up to Mountain Knot City from there, which is like 20 zipline anchors, which is like 10,000 bandwidth. And you really just don't need it. You don't come out here a huge lot of amount. When you do, a lot of the quests for the Novelist, Sun, and Photographer are fetch quests anyway. So you're just like driving to a camp and then coming back. So it really just doesn't pay. And the area is my favorite one to drive on. It's flat. There's no enemies. There's no BTs. There's no mules. There's no rocks. It's really kind of a pleasure just to drive around. So I don't normally do it. If you want to do it, this area especially is pretty flat. But getting from the Waystation to the distro center is just, to me, it's just not worth it. If you need to make a delivery to or from that area, just take a truck. It's just so much easier. So that's my advice to you, is leave this area out and then just build your zip lines around the mountains. You don't really need to come out here for the few locations that are here. So I'll pick it up in Mountain Knot City. All right, from Mountain Knot City, which is down there, and I give credit to Distortion, too, for this route, this particular first 5 route here. This is a pretty specific spot, this little ridge right here where the snow happens. But from here, you can get straight up the back of the mountain to the Roboticist, ultimately the weather station, and back to that other distro center. You can get over here to the doctor, right here. So you definitely want to do that. And you can get this way to the Mountaineer, Spiritualist, and First Prepper. So it's pretty important. This is a pretty pivotal place where you put it. So like I said, the doctor is just right there. I'm not going to go over there and back, but it's there. And then from here, go ahead and head towards the Mountaineer. And you want to put one right here on this snowy ridge, right there. And from there, you should be able to get up to this little outcropping, this little rock outcropping. It's important that you get as far back on the rock as you can, because your next one is going to be on this peak way up here, and it's almost 300 meters, so make sure you're as close as you can. From the peak, you should be able to go right across the ridge and plop down right in front of the Mountaineer. And that's it. That's the Mountaineer. From the Mountaineer, there's a little peak up on the back, and you want to put one right at the top of that peak. And from here, it's really hard to see, but there is another little mountain ridge up there, and you want to get to the top of that. This one doesn't have to be perfect up here. You could go a little to the right over there and still get where you got to go, because we're headed to this little peak right here, which is right next to the Spiritualist. You see, she's right there. And from there, pay no attention to that one. Somebody put that there later. You want to go up to this little crest right here. And it doesn't look like you're going much of anywhere, but if you come up over this little ridge, you see where the footprints are, then you can come down the back, and there's the First Prepper right there. So that's pretty much it for this segment. I'll meet you back at the pivotal point that I showed you at Mountain Knot City, and we'll go the other way. Okay, so now we're back at Mountain Knot at this pivotal point that I shared with you. Right directly behind Mountain Knot, you could go up to this peak right here. There's a little like temporary building that's there as well to give you kind of a mark. And this is another pivotal one. From here, you can go straight up the back of the mountain to the Roboticist, which we will do eventually, or you can go this way over to Heartman. So if you put one up on the peak here, see, it's right here. It's pretty particular where you got to put it. You can put another one down here at the foot of Heartman's steps. And that's him. And then from here, you can go up this side of the mountain. And I know it's hard to see because it's foggy, but there's a peak that you can it kind of sticks out a little bit right here. And your next location is going to be up on that big peak up there. So as long as you connect those two, you should be fine. And then from that big peak that I was showing you, you got the Geologist right down here. And again, that's another one that someone else put down after the fact, but the Geologist is down this way. And you want to put your zip line behind the building in this little, like on this little rock that sticks out right here, because that allows you to get this way without too much messing around. And you want to put it right on the corner of this like 5-story building or 4-story or whatever it is, just on the rock right there. And from here, you could see very, very carefully, if you look, you can see a little outcropping on the very edge here of the cliff. And from there, you can get down the cliff towards the Paleontologist. And this is another one that's tricky. It's pretty close to 300 meters, so you got to be pretty precise with your placements. And you see from the cliff, this is where we just came down. So from the cliff, you can go over this way to get to the Paleontologist. There you go. You see his building right there. And you can go right up over the top of this hillside to get to the Evo-Devo. And if you do it right, you can get it up on the peak here. And so you only got one hop. You go right over the ridge. And you can see the Evo-Devo Biologist is right around that corner. So There you go. So that's it for that section of the mountains. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, we have 9 of the 10 mountain locations. We're just missing the Roboticist. And I actually ended up connecting this 2 ways. Not because the Roboticist is particularly important or pivotal. It's just she's on the way to a couple of things. And it was like one anchor would let you do it. So just to get your bearings here, this is where we were at the peak. The Geologist is down there, right here. And Heartman's lab is down this way. That's the side of the hill. And then the lake is down that way as well. So along this spine right here, you can put a zip line right here from this area, and you can almost see the Roboticist from here. She's basically right down here. So if you pull up your map and put a waypoint there, you can really see it. But I use my Roboticist point to be behind her backyard anyway, just so that I can get to that spine and get across there. But that's the Roboticist right there. And the other way is to put a zipline anchor right up here at this peak. And be careful, there's BTs all through here. And then put another one right here on the rightmost building that's sticking out here. And put it as close to the far edge as you can when you're coming this way. And then because of the snow, it'll be hard to see down here, but I'm going to come down here anyway and show you. So this right here is the branching path that I showed you before. That is the Mountain Knot one, the one right outside of Mountain Knot. It's Mountain Knot City's like right down there. That's the building that I was showing you about that has the memory chip at it. This is the one that I put up there that goes to Heartman's lab, and then we're back the way we were coming. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that the Roboticist is directly on the way to the weather station, which is on the way to the distro center. So it kind of pays to go up this way because you're going to want to anyway. There's a lot of deliveries that go from the Mountain Knot and stuff to the weather station, and it's kind of the best way to get across between the two halves. So, you know, just something to keep in mind. So when you get up to this area by the Roboticist, you want to head left. And I had to put 2 here that were right next to each other. I don't know. I couldn't get the one to connect quite right. I bet I couldn't really see what I was doing. I bet if you put one up on that peak, you could avoid it. But I had plenty of bandwidth at the time, so I just did 2 that were like 50 meters apart. But anyway, you are over the summit and over the back here. And just start running it down the hill. Again, I like to come from the top of the hill down when I'm doing this because it's a lot easier to fall than it is to climb. But you know, you do you. If you look right now, you can see the weather station kind of popping up through the fog there. And one more hop will get you right down here. And I don't know if you remember, but way back in the second part of this video, I talked about putting one that was south of the distro center, close to the river, so that you could see the weather station from there. This is now what we're connecting it to. So you want to go a little bit left here and over this mess. And then basically just stick to the ridges and work your way down until you're at the distro. And there you go. We're right back where we started. So just to give a quick recap, we've connected the 10 locations in the mountains up here, Mountain Knot City and Heartman's lab and all that stuff. And so that's all done. We're ignoring Peter Englert, and we're ignoring the distro, the novelist, son, and the photographer. So that's 14. We've connected the weather station, which is 15. And then on this little spine here, going from South Knot, we have South Knot, Cosplayer, Collector, distro, Craftsman and Waystation, and then Elder, Engineer, and Lake Knot. And so by my count, that takes us to 24 locations that we've covered out of the 29. So we only have 5 to go. And I'm going to talk real quick about the Timefall farm and the veteran porter. So I didn't put any zip lines down here. There's a couple of different ways that you can cross from the mountains to the not mountains. And I chose the weather station as the way to go. I figured it was a good central way to get goods up and across that area. You can take the north path too. The first prepper is right up here. And the Waystation at Mountain Knot and Craftsman are this way. And you can absolutely, once the first preppers got juice is on your network, you can run along this mountain spine and come down this way and connect into here if you want. I didn't find it to be very helpful. There's no deliveries from the first prepper. There's very few deliveries to the first prepper. And there's one pizza delivery that's coming from there, but I'm already connected through the weather station. So I'd rather just take the extra 2 minutes to make that one delivery than take like 20 minutes to set up a zip line coming down out of the mountains there. The south path would take you through the Veteran Porter and the Timefall farm. And probably the easiest way to do that would be to start at this rock by the Cosplayer right here and put another one right kind of down here or across the river, wherever 300 meters is. And then this is pretty flat going into the Timefall farm. So the temptation is always to go up to the weather station because the game takes you that way. But I really think this line is just as good as the weather station one. And it's pretty easy to cross. You can do it in about 4 hops and then about 3 more to the Veteran Porter. Now, if you want to go into the mountains from here, the Geologist is not that far. And there is like a little ridge here that you can run a series of zip lines up and connect into your Geologist line. Again, I didn't feel that it was very beneficial to spend that time doing it. There's not a lot of deliveries that go up and across there, and you can certainly 5-star all the locations without it. So, but anyway, that would be the south path if you want to do it. We're not doing Timefall Farm and Veteran Porter in this. I feel like you can drive where you got to go. Timefall Farm can be 5-starred with one delivery that you drive from this place in Distribution Center north of Mountain Knot. Just look for it. It's like 900 kilograms of cargo or something. Just get a truck, drive all the way down. There's a lot of roads that are already being built. You can sneak around this way and whatnot. It takes like 10 or 15 minutes, but it'll get you like 2,500 likes. So you only have to do that one delivery for Timefall Farm. So anyway, that's enough rambling about that. That just leaves us junk dealer, film director, and chiral artist mom. So let's cover that, and then we'll get you on your way. All right, so we're coming in. The cosplayer's kind of down there. That's down by that rock. The collector's this way, and this is usually about where I like to make my entry point. Also, somebody put a zip line here, so I figured why not. But it's an okay entry point for this area. Again, there's only 3 places over here, which is junk dealer, chiral artist, and film director. And I'm even, okay. I'm starting to get confused because the more I play, the more other people's zip lines keep popping up and they don't ever go anywhere. So that's another one that popped up. Anyway, we're headed straight to the junk dealer with just 2 hops from this little line. You could go directly from the distro as well and just go straight east to the film director, and that'll get you where you got to go. But I'm okay with this one too. This is not the worst. You see, here's the junk dealer right here, and then from here we just kind of build a line just straight directly at the film director. It's not that hard. You can see the zipline anchors out there, and that'll get you where you got to go. But yeah, as you can see, the film director is kind of right over there in the fog, and the distribution center is kind of directly this way. You see right here. So you really could build a line here in about 5 stops. I've done it before. I just didn't. I took a lot of driving missions to him, so I didn't really feel the need to build out a crazy zip line there. But either way, that works. So that gets you that. And then that just leaves us with the chiral artist mom, and she's kind of out in the boonies. So from the junk dealer, to get the chiral artist, you could just kind of head up on the little mountain ridge right here and then just build a line along the lake. It's not even that many stops, like maybe 4 or 5. So if you got the bandwidth, just go ahead and do it. And yeah, once you get out here, then you're pretty much done. That's the chiral artist, the film director, and the junk dealer. Again, we left out Timefall and Veteran Porter. We left out Peter Englert, and we left out the 3 on the far west. You're welcome to build lines out there. You certainly, by the end of the game, have enough bandwidth. It's just, I don't know, it felt like it took too many stops and didn't get enough rewards or reasons to go out for it for me. But hopefully this helped you a little bit with at least like the mountains and the South Knot to Lake Knot area and the eastern region. So thanks again for watching. I appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next time. In the meantime, stay bad, people. Non-gone is gone.